Imagine this. You press the power button on your laptop. The power light turns on. You hear the fan spinning. The keyboard backlight turns on too. But the screen? Completely black. Or maybe the Windows logo appears for a second and then fades into a black screen. Sometimes it goes black right after you log in. Or maybe you only see a moving mouse cursor, but the entire desktop is gone. And occasionally, after a Windows update, the display suddenly stops working altogether. If you're facing any of these issues, do not assume your laptop is permanently broken. A black screen doesn't always mean your display panel or graphics card has failed. Today, we'll start with the simplest quick checks and gradually move toward advanced troubleshooting. By the end of this video, you will clearly understand whether your issue is caused by Windows, a corrupted driver, a loose cable connection, or actual hardware failure. First, identify which case matches your exact situation. If nothing appears on the screen after pressing power, not even the boot logo, the probability points toward a hardware or display connection issue. If the Windows logo appears but goes black right after, we need to examine Windows startup, graphics drivers, or display configuration. If the screen goes black after logging in but you still see a cursor, the primary suspects are Windows Explorer or the display driver. And if an external monitor receives a signal while your laptop screen stays black, we need to investigate the laptop display panel, ribbon cable, or output settings separately. That's why we will tackle every scenario step by step in this video. Now, rule number 1 of troubleshooting, check the simplest things first. If you are on a laptop, connect your official charger and verify whether the charging indicator LED turns on. If you are on a desktop PC, inspect both the power cable for the tower and the monitor's power cord. If you are using an external monitor, double check that the monitor itself is powered on. If you're using an HDMI, DisplayPort, or VGA cable, unplug it from both ends and securely reconnect it. If possible, test with a spare cable. And here is a crucial diagnostic step. Temporarily disconnect all unnecessary USB devices, external hard drives, flash drives, docking stations, and secondary monitors. Then start the computer in its minimal, basic configuration. Connected peripherals or external display configurations can interfere with normal startup. Microsoft officially recommends removing all peripherals and secondary displays as a primary step when troubleshooting blank screens. Here is a shortcut that every Windows user needs to know. When your screen goes blank or black, and you suspect that the graphics driver has frozen, press these keys together on your keyboard. Windows key plus Ctrl plus Shift plus B. What happens when you do this? Windows immediately attempts to restart the graphics and display driver subsystem. If it succeeds, you might hear a brief beep, and your screen will blink momentarily. Microsoft lists this key combination as a recommended basic step for black screen and display driver freezes. So if your screen unexpectedly goes black while the computer is still running, try this shortcut first. If your desktop reappears, the issue was simply a temporary driver glitch. But if nothing happens, let's move to the next diagnostic step. Now for a very common scenario. Sometimes your display panel is completely fine, but Windows is attempting to project the video output to a non-existent secondary display, especially if you previously connected a TV or external monitor. Press this key combination on your keyboard. Windows key plus P. This opens the project display menu invisibly in the background. Pressing Win plus P followed by Enter allows you to cycle through display options. Select PC screen only to test. Misconfigured display settings frequently lead users to believe their laptop screen has died when it is simply turned off by the OS. Microsoft explicitly recommends using Win plus P to toggle display modes when troubleshooting blank screens. Here is a crucial diagnostic test to confirm if the operating system is alive. Press Ctrl plus Alt plus Delete. If the Windows security screen appears, your operating system is fully functional. From this menu, open Task Manager. If Task Manager pops up, the issue lies within the Windows desktop interface or the Explorer process. In Task Manager, locate Windows Explorer. Right-click on it and select Restart. If Windows Explorer is missing entirely from the active processes list, click File right-pointing arrow Run New Task, type explorer.x, and hit Enter. If your desktop, taskbar, and icons reappear, your issue was purely software, shell-based rather than a hardware failure. Microsoft guidance highlights restarting Windows Explorer as a primary fix when experiencing a blank screen with a visible cursor. Let's look at this specific situation carefully. If the screen is entirely black but you can see and move your mouse cursor, do not assume the screen is dead and rush to open the laptop hardware. This state indicates that the graphics pipeline is active, but the Windows UI process failed to launch. First, press Win plus Ctrl plus Shift plus B to refresh the driver. Next, press Ctrl plus Alt plus Delete to launch Task Manager and restart Windows Explorer, Explorer.x. If restarting Explorer restores your desktop, you saved yourself an unnecessary hardware repair. Proper diagnosis is key. Another frequent issue: your computer was working smoothly yesterday. A Windows update installed overnight, and upon restarting today, you're greeted with a black screen. In this situation, the primary suspect is a display driver conflict or an incomplete update sequence. According to official Microsoft documentation, update-related display errors typically stem from driver incompatibility during the boot phase. If you can access the Windows recovery environment, WinRE, or safe mode, you can troubleshoot and roll back the offending display driver. If the issue began immediately after a feature or quality update, performing a driver rollback or uninstall recent updates from recovery mode will usually restore your system. If normal Windows fails to render a display but you can reach the recovery environment, safe mode is your best diagnostic tool. Safe mode boots Windows with a minimal set of basic drivers and services. If a third-party graphics driver or startup application is causing the black screen, safe mode bypasses it, allowing you to troubleshoot easily. If Windows fails to boot normally 3 consecutive times, the system will automatically trigger the Windows recovery environment, WinRE. From there, navigate through Troubleshoot, right pointing arrow advanced options, right pointing arrow startup settings, right pointing arrow restart, and then press 4 or F4 to enable safe mode. Once in safe mode, your first destination should be Device Manager. Now we arrive at one of the most vital sections, the display driver. In safe mode, or on a working external display, open Device Manager. Expand the Display Adapters section. You will see your GPU listed, whether Intel, AMD, Nvidia, or a custom combination. If there is a yellow warning triangle next to the device, the driver is corrupted or failing. Right-click your graphics adapter and choose Properties, then switch to the Driver tab. Rollback driver. Use this if the black screen started after a recent update. Update driver. Attempts to find a cleaner, compatible driver version. Uninstall device. If the driver is severely corrupted, uninstall it and check, attempt to remove the driver for this device, then restart. Windows will automatically install a basic display driver upon reboot. Important rule: never download display drivers from random third-party websites. Always source graphics drivers directly from your laptop manufacturer, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Asus, etc., or the official GPU maker, Nvidia, AMD, Intel. Here is an extremely effective isolation test for hardware. If you have a spare TV or desktop monitor, connect your laptop to it using an HDMI or DisplayPort cable. If the external monitor displays your desktop normally, but the laptop screen stays black, you have successfully narrowed down the issue to the laptop's internal hardware components, such as a misconfigured display output, a faulty internal ribbon cable, EDP cable, a failed display panel, or a blown backlight fuse. If both the external monitor and internal screen remain black, the issue is at a deeper system level, involving the GPU subsystem, system RAM, BIOS corruption, or core boot process. This single step drastically reduces the scope of your investigation. Here is a quick practical trick for hardware testing. If your laptop screen is black, but you suspect the display panel itself is generating an image without a working backlight, try this test. Dim the room lights, turn on your smartphone flashlight, and shine it closely at an angle against the laptop screen. If you can faintly see desktop icons, text, or the Windows logo in the shadow, your display panel is working, but the screen backlight or inverter has failed. Note: this test serves as a diagnostic indicator only. Do not attempt to open your laptop panel at home without proper repair experience. If a hardware backlight fault is detected, take it to a certified technician. Let's clarify an important distinction: power issues versus display issues. If pressing the power button yields no lights, no fan noise, and zero system response, you do not have a black screen display problem. You have a power, charging, motherboard issue. However, if the power LED lights up, fans spin, and keyboard indicators respond, but the display remains dark, you are facing a display or boot issue, which matches the troubleshooting steps outlined in this video. For laptops showing no signs of power, verify charger operation or consult manufacturer guidelines for a hard power reset. When should you stop software troubleshooting and seek technician support? If the boot logo appears and safe mode functions normally, you are dealing with a software or driver issue. If an external monitor works but the laptop panel stays dark, it indicates internal display hardware failure. If the screen is physically cracked or bleeding ink, it is a clear hardware fault. If the computer shows zero boot logo, fails to enter BIOS, and produces no output on an external display, it requires board-level hardware inspection. Remember, not every black screen is a Windows fault, and reinstalling Windows is not the automatic answer to every display problem. Here are 5 critical mistakes you must avoid during troubleshooting. Downloading GPU drivers from third-party websites. Stick strictly to official OEM portals. Flashing your BIOS prematurely. Unnecessary BIOS updates on an unstable system can break your motherboard. Reinstalling Windows immediately. Always diagnose first to avoid losing personal files unnecessarily. Disassembling your laptop screen or ribbon cable without technical expertise and ESD safety precautions. Running random registry fixes or script commands found on unverified forums. Always diagnose systematically before taking corrective action. If you want a simple summary to remember, keep this execution flow in mind. Black screen? Check power and cables. Remove unnecessary accessories. Try the graphics reset shortcut, Win plus Ctrl plus Shift plus B. Check display mode, Win plus P. Test system response with Ctrl plus Alt plus Delete. Restart Windows Explorer. Perform an external monitor test. Enter safe mode. Troubleshoot the display driver. Proceed to hardware diagnosis if necessary. Following this logical order prevents unnecessary Windows reinstallations and costly hardware repairs.